It would also have been located in the staterooms and all the way up on promenade deck inside the main hall. The main reason why they had it all the way up there is because many times when the ship was out over the open ocean, the waves would get as high as her promenade deck windows, sometimes even breaching those windows and spilling right out onto the decks. Thankfully for this surface, the guests weren't slipping and sliding around as they were making their way through the Queen. Also, it was much easier cleanup if any one of you were to ever become seasick. All right, this way. Go ahead.
I have 2 guests with tickets and the ship walk. Can I send them down?
Send them down to B deck forward. Ladies and gentlemen, you are now located on A deck. If you do me a favor and look behind you, you're going to notice this is the longest running continuous deck that we have on board the Queen Mary. It spans almost the entire length of the ship, which is 1,019.5 feet. This hallway you see right here on starboard side, as well as her twin hallway on port side, travel 880 feet continuously without interruption. That 880 feet falls just 13 feet short of the entire length of the Titanic. Queen Mary is almost 200 feet longer than the Titanic. She's also twice as large. Now, the way to measure a ship's size is by overall gross tonnage. Titanic was at about 40,000 tons, and Queen Mary herself over 81,000 tons. Now, you may notice the bender bow in her structure that is done purposefully. She was built that way. This is something known as shear to deck. Queen Mary was built without stabilizer fins, so they use shear to deck to help with stability and strength out over the open ocean. So when you pass midship, you'll feel as if you're walking slightly uphill on both sides. You can even feel the incline as you're standing still. You'll also notice the architecture having an angle or a slant to accommodate shear to deck. All right, this way. So as you folks come down, just filling around the area, we're going to talk about this photograph you see located right behind me. You're almost too tall for my tour.
Didn't have to be protected.
Welcome. No, they're catching up. I'm not just letting people on for free, guys.
We are real.
Come on. Those are my guardian angels. I talk to them. They visit me on the tours.
What do you see over there?
Exactly. What people? Ladies and gentlemen, this picture right here was taken of the Queen Mary on her maiden voyage in May of 1936. This is her arriving at the end right here in New York City. I recently had a gentleman on the tour who said he was about 4 to 5 years old, and he was actually on one of these ships right out here, watching Queen Mary arrive to New York. A normal trip for Queen Mary was leaving Southampton, England, and taking a quick stopover in Cherbourg, France, then moving from there to New York. A one-way trip for Queen Mary was anywhere from 4 to 6 days, so a round trip of roughly 8 to 12. Queen Mary had a top traveling speed of 30.6 knots, equal to about 36 miles per hour. In fact, Queen Mary's top traveling speed still ranks her within the top 5 of cruise ships in the world today. She had enough on board to accommodate anywhere between 2,000 to 3,200 passengers and crew, normally a ratio of 1 crew member for every 3 passengers. There were over 2,100 staterooms available during her sailing days. As of today, about 350 are part of our hotel. When it came to her classing systems and her decks, they did not do them top decks first class, middle decks second, bottom decks third. They broke it up into sections, what was known as smoothness of ride. So in this bow section right here, from top to bottom, this is where you found third class, because it was the roughest ride on board. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to third class. Back here in the stern, you actually would have found second class, because this is where they had to deal with the vibrations and hum of the engines, as well as propellers all day and all night. First class, all throughout the middle here, because it was the smoothest ride on board. Now in 1936, a first class cabin would have valued you anywhere between $1,100 and $1,300 per trip. Today's prices, that's roughly about $14,000. Or a reasonably priced car. So, right this way. Price is probably the scariest thing I sailed.
I'm just waiting for something to pop out.
I really hope you were hitting your head on the plane.
I'm trying not to. They didn't have tall people back then. They did not have tall people back then.
Come on in.
I didn't know we're staying. Just where's the door? No, what a nice room. It's so big.
Welcome to the best first class cabin on board. Kept it its original state. I'm just kidding. Keep filling in, folks. You're more than welcome to stand on the other side as well. Oh. Where'd you guys go?
See North.
I am now. Giant ones in my eyes.
That was shining up.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to room B340, or what is commonly known as the most paranormally active stateroom on board the Queen Mary. Now, even in the ship's final sailing days, she has been known to get paranormal activity reports from this room. After she opened as a hotel in Long Beach in 1972, the paranormal activity only seemed to escalate. I hope that siren didn't at least I know you're paying attention. That makes me feel good. Now, some of these reports from the guests staying at the hotel would report hearing the sounds of somebody knocking on their stateroom doors throughout the night. They'd get up to answer, nobody would be there. They also said the lights in the added bathroom around the corner would frequently turn on and off by themselves. They'd also complain about hearing the sounds of scratching and growling coming from inside their room as they slept. Guests at times would also wake up in the morning and find their actual luggage moved around the room from their original positions. Now, maids began to complain about entering this room and finding the bathroom water running at full blast, even though nobody had occupied the room for several days. One maid became extremely hysterical. She came in, changed the bed sheets, left to get fresh towels, came back, found that the bed sheets were ripped off the bed and were lying in a pile in the middle of the floor at her feet. It's reported she promptly quit the very next day. Now, two interesting reports have come our way over the years about this room in particular. One is dated May 5th, 1965, and actually comes to us from a passenger by the name of Mrs. W.T. Berry. Mrs. Berry called the night steward to her room that evening because she said she was awakened in her sleep by somebody slowly pulling the covers off of her bed. She sat up and said there was a man standing at the foot of her bed she did not recognize. So she screamed and pressed the button for the night steward. As she did this, the man at the foot of the bed simply disappeared. When the night stewards came in, he said he saw no man enter or exit her room or any of the passageways he'd recently been patrolling. The other report we do have is from 1948, and this report simply reads, Walter J. Adamson, third-class passenger, British subject, found dead in room B226, cause unknown. His death remains a mystery on board, but we did find out that B226 was later converted to B340, where we are right now. So there's a definite possibility that Mr. Adamson is still watching over his room. Now, in the ship's sailing days, this was not the original size of a third-class stateroom. You would have actually found anywhere from 2 to 3 third-class staterooms in here. Also, the bathroom you see here is not original. That was added after she became a hotel. During her sailing days, third-class passengers actually had to share a bathroom, and it was out in the hallways.
Fun.
Feel free now to walk around, take pictures, investigate. Any questions, please ask. And we'll be moving on in the next couple minutes.